June 20th, 2025. Taiwan's radar screens lit up like a Christmas tree, and not the kind with presents underneath. 50 Chinese warplanes surged toward the island. Fighters, bombers, drones, helicopters, the whole toolbox. Not a casual flyby, a full-on swarm. And the skies weren't the only problem. 12 Chinese naval vessels joined in, turning the Taiwan Strait into Beijing's very own floating air show. And depending on who you ask, the numbers were even worse. Some reports didn't just stop at 50. They put the figure at 74 aircraft total. 61 of those crossed the median line. For Taiwan's defense forces, it was like trying to plug holes in a dam while someone keeps bringing a bigger drill. You think you've patched the leak, and suddenly the wall looks like Swiss cheese. Here's the kicker. 46 planes blew past that invisible median line. The boundary that for decades was the unwritten rule. You stay on your side, we'll stay on ours. Think of it as the sibling tape line on the bedroom floor. Don't cross it. And China didn't just cross it. It sprinted across, stomped around, waved both arms, and yelled, "What are you gonna do about it?" Taiwan didn't hesitate. Combat air patrol fighters screamed into the sky. Naval vessels maneuvered into intercept positions. Land-based missile systems lit up. Patriots, skybows, everything tracking targets at once. Taiwan's Ministry of Defense calmly announced it, monitored, and responded, which is government speak for, we had a finger hovering over the red button. If you listened carefully, you could almost hear the nervous clicking of pens in the command bunker. And why this day? Why this swarm? Well, timing is everything. Just 2 days earlier, the British Royal Navy's HMS Spey had sailed right through the Taiwan Strait. A simple act of freedom of navigation. Taiwan clapped. Beijing fumed. So, China answered the way it usually does, with noise, engines, and enough military hardware to make the neighbors sweat. And if the morning swarm wasn't clear enough, Beijing sent another 24 aircraft later that same day. 15 of them crossed the line again, coordinating with warships at sea. If this was meant as subtle messaging, then subtlety is dead. It's like sending a marching band to sneak up on someone. Let's pause. What's the big deal with this median line? It's not in the UN. No international treaty spells it out. It was a handshake agreement, drawn in 1955 during the Cold War. For decades it worked. A silent tripwire, both sides respected. But over the last few years, China has shredded that understanding. What used to be a once-in-a-blue-moon line crossing is now an almost daily event. Beijing isn't just crossing the line, it's erasing it, like a kid with a big eraser determined to redraw the homework assignment. And then there's the ADIZ, the Air Defense Identification Zone. It's not sovereign airspace, but it's a buffer, a warning net. You enter it, Taiwan tracks you. You cross the median, they intercept you. So when dozens of warplanes pour in from the north, southwest, and east, all at once, it's not an accident, it's a statement. And the statement is clear. We can surround you whenever we feel like it. For Taiwan's pilots, this is daily life now. Strap in, scramble, intercept, return, rinse and repeat. Imagine being one of those pilots. Every time you sit down to eat, another alert sends you sprinting back to the cockpit. At some point, you've got to imagine one of them just sighing into the radio. Same time tomorrow? Bring bubble tea this round. Funny on the surface, sure. But underneath? It's exhausting. This is slow burn warfare. Attrition without open shots fired. China is forcing Taiwan to burn fuel, stretch manpower, and wear down jets that can only take so many hours in the air. A pilot can't just swap out after 10,000 hours of flight time like an oil filter. This is grinding human endurance and mechanical limits both at once. And while Taiwan is scrambling, Washington is watching. The US didn't send fighters on June 20th. It didn't need to. The American Institute in Taiwan, the de facto embassy, issued a sharp statement. Unwavering support, destabilizing actions, opposition to unilateral changes by force. Diplomatic code for Beijing, you're flexing, but we've seen bigger. The real deterrent wasn't the words. It was the US Navy's carrier groups, the submarines lurking in the deep, and stealth bombers on alert in Guam. Beijing knows if this escalates, American firepower can arrive in hours. The US doesn't have to shout. Its silence is loud enough. But let's not kid ourselves. This wasn't a one-off. Taiwan's seen this movie before. October 2024, the president gives a fiery National Day speech. Beijing answers with 153 aircraft in a single day, the largest incursion ever recorded. This isn't war, but it's not peace either. It's what strategists call gray zone warfare. A constant grinding pressure designed to normalize the abnormal. Push the line so many times that the world just shrugs and accepts it. It's the military version of gaslighting. If you do something crazy often enough, eventually people stop calling it crazy. That's the danger. When 50 or 74 or 100 planes scream across the line and the world yawns, Beijing wins. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. And once that happens, real escalation becomes easier. Like a frog in slowly boiling water. By the time anyone realizes it's hot, it's already too late. Because here's the harsh truth. Wars don't always start with a declaration. They start with mistakes. A radar operator misreading a blip. A pilot refusing to turn back. A missile fired in panic. With this many planes and ships jammed into the same waters, the margin for error is thinner than rice paper. One spark in this powder keg, and the whole strait could light up like the 4th of July. Now zoom out. Taiwan isn't just 23 million people living under constant threat. It's the beating heart of global technology. Over 60% of the world's semiconductors come from here. More than 90% of the most advanced chips. Your phone, your car, your laptop. Even the jet fighters patrolling the skies. Odds are they rely on chips from Taiwan. Whoever controls Taiwan doesn't just control territory. They control the digital backbone of the modern world. That's why Washington cares. That's why Tokyo cares. That's why London is sending ships halfway across the planet. This isn't just about defending a democracy. It's about making sure the global economy doesn't get hijacked. Without Taiwan, the global supply chain doesn't wobble. It crashes. And suddenly, it's not just Taipei's problem, it's everyone's problem. And here's the irony. China's strategy is supposed to scare Taiwan into isolation, to make its people feel alone. But every time Beijing cranks up the pressure, Taiwan draws closer to the US, Japan, and allies who don't want a Chinese-dominated Pacific. Instead of isolating Taiwan, Beijing is building the very coalition that stands in its way. It's like trying to bully someone off the playground and instead turning them into the most popular kid in school. So, where does that leave us? On June 20th, Beijing didn't just send 50 planes or 74, depending on whose radar you believe. It sent a message, a rehearsal, a warning to Taiwan, America, and the world. We can escalate anytime we want. The question is, when do these drills stop being drills? When does the buzzing of warplanes turn into the thunder of missiles? Because if 50 planes can rattle the region this much, what happens when Beijing decides to send 500? Will the world blink, or will someone finally draw a line that can't be crossed? The fuse is burning in the Taiwan Strait, and with every incursion, every swarm, every flex of Beijing's military muscle, it's getting shorter. The only question left is, who notices when the flame finally reaches the powder?